So the first Omen was just released, and yes, hence the title says it, The First Omen. It is a prequel to the 1976 horror movie The Omen, and actually coming out a couple years before its 50-year anniversary. That's pretty close. Maybe they should have waited a couple more years, then released it then. But when I heard about this movie was not what I was expecting. I was not expecting a prequel to The Omen. I mean, because The Omen in itself has a good start, so I don't know why they needed a prequel for it. But hence, when prequels come out for classic material like this, they usually do not perform well. This one must be an exception to the rule because it wasn't amazing, but it was still a solid watch. So the premise of this movie, the best way I can say it without actually giving any spoilers, is that this is an origin story of Damien's birth mother. And that kind of threw me for a shock there for a second, because I always thought Damien's birth mother was the mother that we saw in the 1976 Omen that was married to Robert Thorne, the diplomat. But, I mean, I guess I was wrong. But then again, I haven't seen The Omen in years, so probably could be wrong about that, and probably have forgotten a lot of stuff about it. Neil Tiger Free plays our main character, Margaret Nano, and I have to say she was amazing in this movie. This was, I don't want to say Oscar-worthy, but definitely a really great performance. One of the best performances maybe of her career, because the only other show I've seen her do was a background character in Game of Thrones. But what made her so great was pretty much that she was normal. Now, when I say normal, I mean, like, you know how you see characters in movies that are like, you know, oh, this character's like the heroic, this character is the happy type, this character is the questioner. It's like there are so many different characters that really play one dimension, but she is so normal. And that normality makes her so much more relatable as a character, because as this movie goes on, you kind of see yourself in certain parts of her. And that's what I liked about her. There are parts where I'm like saying, oh, that's definitely me. Oh, I could see that. But also that normality also makes her a multi-dimensional character as well. I mean, there are moments where she's not playing one mood. She's never in one mood. There's moments where she's in that normal mood. Then there's moments when she's questioning things. There's that moment when she's terrified. There's so many different dimensions you explore with her, and that's really why I feel she nailed this role. So without a doubt, Neil Tiger Free did amazing. What else this movie also had going for it was the atmosphere in this movie. I mean, it plays a very creepy vibe. I mean, there's like creepiness all over this movie, along with the musical score they use, but that's something I kind of expected from The Omen. I mean, I've never really considered the Omen franchise technically in the horror aspect, but I mean, that's a big aspect when it comes to genres. I've always felt like it's more of on the thriller aspect. It's not really a movie that's kind of meant to like scare you. It's more meant to creep you out, because this movie plays heavily on anxiety, making you anxious. To the point, it's like you're watching like just a tightrope, just constantly being tightened and tightened and tightened, and you're expecting it to like snap any second now, and it's just making you so anxious to the point where you're like, oh my god, what's going on? What's gonna happen to this person? Holy shit, what are they doing? And then finally, when you see it, you're like, oh my god, I can't watch this. That's the kind of vibe it gives you in this movie. It's a lot of anxiety, I will give it that. What the rest of this movie had going for it was that it was paying homage to the original film. Now, when I say paying homage, I mean like it didn't seem forced. There are a lot of prequels out there that seem like they force homage into the story, but this didn't seem like that at all. It felt like it had a natural flow, like giving homage in a good way. So it was kind of like, you know, classic meets new style of movies. So they kind of merged in a good way, not in a bad way. So I mean that was a good thing right there. So I mean, there are prequels out there that are forced into like classics, and you're like, no, get this out of here. Anyone who hasn't seen The Omen could watch this film and then watch The Omen, and it would still fit perfectly together. It fits perfectly in with the franchise, even though the story is like not completely original. It still follows a lot of the original Omen traits, but it still works as a story itself. Solid horror flick. I will say that much about The First Omen. I'm giving it a B-. If you're into those anxious, thrilling aspect movies, this is definitely a film I recommend you should see. Alright, well, if you guys have seen The First Omen, please comment here and down below what your thoughts were on it. Also, if you like my other videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys next time, and remember, stay epic!